Hey guys, and today we got some more metagame discussions for you guys, but before I get into that, just remember, as always, if you have a topic you want me to go over, leave a comment in the description, but please try and make it be actually something you need and actually something metagame related, because there were a couple last time that it was, let me just quick show you, but like, one person asked for going over status effects like toxic or sleep and poison and stuff, but that's just basic mechanics of the game, which it's like there's some semblance of stuff you guys should know already or should be looking up yourself, and then like someone was asking for health items. Again, that's just something basic in the game that you guys, I mean, honestly, there's some semblance of you need to do some bit of work, you know, but you know, these metagame videos are for the metagame, not for basic game mechanic stuff, which, I mean, yeah, the hazards thing was kind of like that, but they have a lot more use in the meta than anything else. But, I mean, everything else you should just kind of look up because it's important anyways, and it'll help you out better, because if you do your own research, you're probably going to find more than I can most likely tell you. But anyways, today, it's a topic I've been wanting to talk about for a little bit, which I mentioned in my counter video, but didn't really elaborate too much into, and that topic is meta relevance. Now, what does that mean? It's basically why a Pokemon would be used in a metagame. Now, what does that have to do with anything? Well, for example, every time a Pokemon gets banned, so actually, I found this right here, which is a history of bans in Black and White OU, which, I mean, yeah, it's not as important anymore, but actually is. So, like, you know, here's every single ban that was ever made in the OU tier for Black and White, which I actually found interesting. Just scrolling through, I remember being around for all these bans happening, and like, for example, you know, this is the first banning of Pokemon in OU, and you'll see, you know, the Deoxys shit got banned, Excadrill didn't get banned, Latios didn't get banned, Shaman was 100% banned, and then the Darkrai got banned too. But, for example, you know, Excadrill and Latios, they were suspected but didn't get banned, because of the fact that, you know, they had decent enough counters at the time. There are things that could stop them, and there are things that were relevant in the meta. As such, for Latios, I actually have this is the farthest back I could go, was April 2011, so unfortunately it's a time right when Blaziken got banned, so there's really no showing of how Blaziken was affecting the meta. But as far as that goes, you know, there are plenty of things that could take on Latios. Like, you had the Ferrothorn, Tyranitar, and Scizor, you know, three of the top things to take on Latios, right in the top three slots, so they had the meta relevance of stopping Latios, which meant, you know, it didn't get the ban, and there are other things that were good in the metagame that could stop Latios, so that's why it didn't get banned. Excadrill, you know, there were just other more threatening things at the time, so it kind of got passed over, but obviously they came back to it, you know, multiple times, because it kept showing time and time again it was a good fucking Pokemon. Reuniclus almost got banned too, because it was an annoying piece of shit, but again, enough things were around to stop it. So, as far as meta relevance goes, I kind of want to go over some of the bans that, you know, weren't overly, or they didn't seem as, you know, they could have been either way to some people, and they were a lot more controversial. So, as far as that goes, you know, Blaziken, which, you know, that's a thing. When you look at what is in the meta at the time, you know, you see all this stuff. One of the big ones that pop up is, well, two of them were Jellicent, and then, let's see, how high was Slowbro in usage? Yeah, Slowbro wasn't even that high, but the thing is, as far as Jellicent and Slowbro goes, they're really the only quote-unquote counters you could speak of, and they weren't even that strong counters, because if Blaziken decided to run a 3-attack set, which means it would run Shadow Claw, ran right through him, and even stab moves at +2 did a huge amount, because it was very easy for Blaziken to get a +2 boost. And otherwise, after that, Slowbro wasn't even meta-relevant, so it didn't really matter for anything. But otherwise, there were some obscure and random counters, but they had no meta-relevance. And what meta-relevance is, you know, a Pokemon being used and being around in the metagame. Why does that matter when we're going over a counter? Or just anything in general? To determine what's a threat or not? Well, if it doesn't matter in this metagame, why the fuck should we care about it? Because, you know, let's say, let's go to the example of fucking Lucario. Lucario had a, quote-unquote counter, trying to find the right fucking thread, in, Bulky Gyarados, which, let's go look at the moveset statistics. Because I don't think Gyarados was that high in usage recently, so I just want to confirm that. Let's see, Gyarados. As far, let's see, oops, fucking find Gyarados. Alright, Gyarados, yeah, I mean, really, there was no, okay, there's a max HP adamant one, but that was probably an offensive one, but, you know, yeah, Rest and Sleep Talk, they weren't really used that much compared to every other set on here. And even Gyarados in usage, I don't think was that high. Let's see. Gyarados. Yeah, Gyarados was even like 30-ish. And so that means, as far as meta relevance goes, it wasn't that high in usage. And the set that could counter Lucario, it wasn't that high in usage either for the low usage Gyarados. So what that basically means is that quote-unquote counter is not relevant by any means. It does not matter. We cannot factor that into why, or, you know, if that Pokemon should be banned or not. So that's something as far as that goes. Now, for example, you know, there's another thing, part of meta relevance where why a Pokemon might jump up in usage. For example, we have, just gotta go fucking over here, Gastrodon right here. Gastrodon, you know, before, it wasn't really that important of a Pokemon. It was, you know, fairly, well, let's go look at Diamond Pearl. It was NU and Diamond Pearl, but then again, Storm Drain sucked back then. But since Storm Drain got the boost, and let's go over to the usage stats of 2011. Now, let's see here. Where the fuck is Politoed? Oh, there's Politoed. Okay, that's weird. Oh yeah, this is a time where Excadrill and Garchomp are still around. So, I mean, let's see. Do I even have more current? Oh, okay. Here's October, where Politoed went up huge because I think this is right after the Excadrill and Thundurus ban. So yeah, it's like Politoed was huge in usage. Now, Gastrodon, it still wasn't too high yet, but it was still pretty good. Like, I mean, 29 is not even that bad. And if you look at what was around in the meta, you know, you had the sand and you had the rain. It was a good check to both of those things. And, you know, Gastrodon shot up because it fucking worked for the meta. It, you know, it countered a few things, like, for example, you know, Rotom's right here. It countered key things that were in the metagame, plus it could hold its own anyways. Now, if you go back to the, you know, the ban stuff that got banned example, what else got banned? Oh, shit. Fucking closed, whatever. Fucking, where is it? Where the goddamn is it? There it is. If we go back here, what else got banned recently? Oh yeah, Kangaskhan. Now, I think I went over this before, but let's see, do they have the past usage statistics on this thread too? That would be helpful, Antar. I hope you're helpful. Otherwise I'm going to have to Google it. I don't want to Google it. Come on, Antar, don't let me down. Oh wait, no, I don't have to Google it. It's just still fucking right here. I'm so organized, I know. But, let's see, it got banned this month? I think? Maybe? No, it got banned well, let's see, hold on. Kangaskhan. Yeah, I got banned the month before, or got banned that month, so this is usage stats where Kangaskhan is actually used. So, there's Kangaskhan, number 8. Not as high as it could have been, but still decently high. But let's look at what was around in the meta. The best thing to really take it on in the quote-unquote meta was Aegislash. Gengar, to an extent, could, but obviously not as well as it should. And then it's just looking at what else there is. Trevenant could, but obviously, if your Kangaskhan was carrying the Crunch, then yeah, Trevenant was no problem. Let's see, where was Sableye in usage? Because that was like the best counter for Kangaskhan, quote unquote. Yeah, Sableye, look at how low that was compared to how Kangaskhan is. Now, if that counter is not meta relevant, it doesn't fucking matter. So, there's that factor of that. Now, fuck, what was I gonna say next? Yeah, so, the fact of the matter is, since Kangaskhan's counters weren't meta relevant and Kangaskhan had just that versatility, that's why that got banned. I shouldn't be getting into banning, but that's part of meta relevance, is because if something isn't relevant, then it doesn't fucking matter when you're talking about that Pokemon. But if something is relevant, then yes, we will talk about that. But if there are so few things that are relevant, then it doesn't fucking matter. But now I want to kind of go into things that, you know, reasons why other stuff got used, and I'm going to go back to old gen examples. Now, back in 4th gen, there was a little gem that came out. Well, not gem, but we got a nice little boost to a Pokemon that people liked and wasn't really that used, because here's Scizor. Now let's go back to Ruby Sapphire days. It was BL, and going into 4th gen, it was still BL. But then, Scizor got a couple toys. Actually, did it have Technician last gen? No, it didn't have Technician last gen. And, you know, its sets were pretty iffy. But, you know, start of 4th gen, it was BL. I mean, there was no doubt. And Choice Banded Scizor was not even a thing. But it got Bullet Punch, and it had Technician. Now, actually, I wonder if I could pull up a thread really quick. Hold on a second. I want to actually potentially pull up a thread, so hold on a sec. Alright, I found this old thread. It's, first of all, it's my old Maryland account. I fucking was really bad back in these days. But this is back when Scizor first came out, you know, with the bullet punching thing. I mean, this team wasn't that good, but I ran this team with a Choice Banded Scizor. And, I mean, that's such a surprise. But no, let me show you really quick something. Just look for Swords Dance. Like, basically, every single person wanted me to run SD Scizor. Well, every person that, you know, rated the team was like, run SD Scizor over CB Scizor. CB isn't that good, but fucking now CB Scizor, one of the most used sets in the game. Now, why did it become meta relevant? Because it was fucking good and people realized it. People thought, oh, I can just boost up and bullet punch everything, but wait, I get the turning versatility and the bullet punch is amazing. And a lot of people didn't realize it for a while. But good old me was able to get it. I was bad, but I got it. But, you know, Scizor, it wasn't that good before, but it got the bullet punch, and then once people discovered how good the Choice Banded set was, which a lot of people didn't understand why, it became used. So that's an example of that. Another example that is actually really cool too is, for those of you who remember, a little bugger named, let's see, where is it? Latios, wherever the hell it is. Apparently I don't have eyes. There we go, Latios. But there's one other Pokemon I want to find really quick. Tyranitar. Okay, so, Latios. Bit of a controversial Pokemon too in 4th gen. Came down, was a threat, to say the least. I mean, it centralized the metagame so much that, you know, that's why it went up. It wasn't exactly the best thing in the world, but it was a good Pokemon, and it centralized a bit, and it had a good support factor to it, so it went up. And one thing that happened was Tyranitar used a different set. I say used a different set because this set right here, Choice Scarf. Yeah, it may seem odd to use Choice Scarf on such a slow Pokemon. A lot of people thought it was fucking weird, and, you know, the most used sets for Tyranitar at the time, you know, were the Choice Banded ones. Dragon Dancing was sometimes used. You know, you had the Boa, which was really popular. You know, Sub Punch, and then you just ran some moves to complement that. And then, I think Lead Tar was sometimes used, but not much. I mean, you could, but it wasn't the best thing ever. But, you know, a lot of other Tyranitar sets were used. Tyranitar wasn't even the biggest thing used, but because of that Lanios and needing to remove it as a threat, Pursuit became a huge thing with Scarftar, and there are a lot of Psychic and Ghost types back in 4th Gen. Actually, I wonder if I could pull up, let's see, let's just fucking search from here. Smogon, usage, stats, let's go March 2010. Because I know they took stats back in 4th Gen. Do they have all the usage stats here? Doesn't look like it. It looks like that's just individual stuff. Oh, well, kinda. I just wish they had the actual, like, stat threads, because that would actually help me out a lot right now. Oh, well, they actually kind of do right here. Let's see, when was this? When was this Smog made? Okay, May, so, kind of could. But, there was Lanios, Gengar, Starmie, Azelf, there's Starmie, and then wherever the hell Azelf is, Azelf, you know, a lot of Pokemon that Tyranitar just outsped with that Joy Scarf that it could trap and just decimate. So, because of what the meta was like at the time, Tyranitar got its chance to shine and fucked shit up. Now I'll go over one more example that I actually do kind of like that wouldn't be a good thing to go, or would be a good thing to go over because it was actually interesting at the time. Which that last example, I'm just going over examples so you kind of understand what the point of meta relevance is, so you can, well, actually I'll go over 2 examples, but this is the last example from a previous gen, which is Machamp. Now, when you look at Machamp, you know, one of the older sets was just go Rest Talk. This was probably the most popular set for a long time. Now, back in 4th Gen, we didn't have team preview, so we had to use leads. Now, I wonder if, curious. Leads in. Alright, here we go. This is awesome. I'm glad that they have this. Okay. So, yeah. Leads. Here's a lot of common leads that we had. Like, one of the most common ones were Azelf, Aerodactyl, Infernape, Roserade. You know, then we had all these bulky leads, which, you know, were all huge threats. Well, not huge, but, you know, they're good. You know, you can see all these leads, and has Machamp right here. It was basically an anti-lead, because literally almost every Pokemon you could lead with, you could take on with the combination of Dynamic Punch and Bullet Punch. Now, let's go back to that Machamp set. The common one was, you know, Dynamic Punch, Payback, Bullet Punch, and Ice Punch. You could use Stone Edge, but you don't need it. But and then it also ran Lumberry. So it had enough EVs that it could take hits, blah blah blah. So you hit it with Dynamic Punch, confuse the shit out of it, and then finish off with another one or go for Bullet Punch. Now let's look at those leads that were there. You know, the most common ones were like, Azelf was one of the most common leads around. So you could just Payback it and then Bullet Punch. And the only way they can revenge or kill you off, I think, is they need to have a Life Orb with Psychic or something like that. Gengar, you know, you could just Payback then Bullet Punch. Infernape, Dynamic Punch, then Bullet Punch. Roserade, they try and sleep you. You got the Lumberry. It's just everything on this list. Machamp had enough bulk to take, and then could take out. Machamp, a lot of people underestimated it as a lead at first. They're like, no, we need to still use it as a sleep talker, but then if you just look at this entire list, it's just, yeah, I mean, they can explain it right here too. TOKO is like every lead barring Fortress, which who gives a shit about Fortress, but it's just, yeah, it hit way too many things, and it was a very, very good lead, and it was, you know, hard to deal with as a lead, so you had to either decide, do I damage this Machamp so it's not a threat later, or do I get up my hazards right now and lose a fucking Pokemon? It's, you know, it was a gamble you had to take, but, you know, it was a necessary sacrifice. But then there's just one more case of meta relevance I want to go over before we stop this video, because there is one that is very important right now, which is, see, is this recent? This is November, not the one I wanted. Okay, now we're on the right one. And that one is Mandibuzz, which has a pretty decent amount of usage. Now, the reason why Mandibuzz is used is obviously because of defog, and then there's this little bugger right here. And the fact that it does have enough bulk to take on a lot of physical attackers now, and the fact that Steel types lost their resist to Dark, you know, Scizor gets hit hard by a foul play and can't do overly much to Mandibuzz. Let's see, Azumarill you can do a little bit too, but not too much. You know, Ferrothorn you can do stuff too, Excadrill. It's just there's a lot of stuff that Mandibuzz can hit now because it resists, or, you know, its typing complements what is in the meta. And that foul play and that defog, it gives it way too much in this meta, so it's a very good Pokemon, obviously. It does have its shortcomings, sure, but when used right, it's just great in this fucking meta, so Mandibuzz is definitely one of the biggest threats that you do have to watch out for in this meta and be careful with, because you can very easily build a team well around Mandibuzz and it can just wreck your shit. So, you know, a lot of things, when, you know, because of the Aegis usage, that's the major reason Mandibuzz went up, but it found a place in the metagame because of what else was around. So that's why it's staying, and that's why it's, you know, used as opposed to something else that could easily take on Aegis, but can't take on anything else. So, yeah, I think that'll be a good place to end it. So hopefully that gave you a bit of insight as to why things are relevant in the metagame and how things kind of go in trends. It's just a matter of what the state of the metagame is like and what is needed and what isn't needed. And it just has to have more than one use. That's really it. So, hopefully that was informative enough for you guys, and hopefully you learned something. But, yeah, like I said before, leave a comment below for the next thing you want discussed. Just try and make it actually metagame related, something you actually need and actually want clarification on, and not just something that's like, oh, everyone wants to know more about how sleep is competitive. No, just no. But, anyways, that'll be for this, so hope you guys enjoyed. Such blah, here, comment, sub, and later, guys.